Good morning, Fish and Ad here from Test Tube Marketing, and today is a special video actually because this is going to go out on, which is today, Friday 31st, last day of January, and yesterday was Ad's birthday. He reached the ripe old age of 127. So,
and I've got my new birthday jumper on.
Yeah, it's very nice.
From the family. Thank you.
And that is from the 80s as well, isn't it? The old, I was going to say Sergio Ticini, but it's not, is it? Lyle Perry.
Is it Fred Perry?
Fred Perry.
Yeah. Sergio
Very nice.
Ticini, absolute blast from the past that is.
We should start wearing just matching tracksuits probably, since we wear matching t-shirts most of the time. Now, I'm kind of in suspense here. Ad has got a secret topic he wants to talk about based on a conversation he had yesterday, and he's refused to tell me anything about it until we sat down. Over to you, Mr. Ashburn.
Are we starting with that?
I think so.
Would
you rather keep it in suspense?
No. I thought we were going to talk about the Jaguar thing.
Let's talk about the Jaguar thing first.
This sort of, what I was going to share kind of tags on the back of it. And I want to keep you in suspense for a bit longer.
Okay.
Well, I'm staggered.
We're all in suspense.
I'm still staggered by it.
Staggering. The Jaguar thing, it's funny because it's not, I don't know how long ago, a month, 6 weeks ago.
Do you want to qualify what you mean by the Jaguar thing?
Well, the whole Jaguar, I think most people will be aware of it, but you're right, we should not assume. The Jaguar kind of rebrand that happened a month or 6 weeks ago, something like that, that caused massive uproar. They kind of, quite a heritage brand, I would say. A lot of car enthusiasts feel very strongly about the kind of heritage of Jaguar, and they just basically wiped the slate clean, got rid of all of that, deleted everything off their socials, all the old imagery and that kind of stuff, and did this new relaunch with this new concept car, which was like a long pink, something out of Thunderbirds, and it caused a lot of uproar, and generally the feedback from the public was pretty shit.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is we haven't actually, I think we'll probably have very different views on this in terms of our actual thinking around it, but we haven't really discussed it.
We haven't discussed it.
Like, because when you say the Jaguar thing, I obviously knew what you meant. I'm just thinking of the brand, like what they've done to the brand, how it looks, how it's positioned. I have seen some of the concept cars, which is funny because their thing is about, it's just it's unique, isn't it? Like our unique look of cars, and then you've got loads of people sharing, here's your unique car next to a car that's already in existence that it looks like.
Yeah. I do think we're going to have different views though. Mark, what's your view on the whole thing, your kind of summary of it, your thoughts?
I mean, I don't like it. I don't like the new brand. Like, for me, it's like, I said to my friend who is one of these, he was looking at it and he was showing me, he's like, oh, what do you think? I love it. And I was like, I hate it. I was like, I think it's shit. I think it's paid. It's given no thought to the heritage, what it means, who actually the actual market seems to be in my eyes for the cars. And I said to him, I was like, this is what happens when you get a load of woke lefties, young woke lefties involved in your marketing department making decisions, because it's just like it just looks like it's trying to be different for the sake of it.
Yeah, and like that has been the consensus really for most people online, I think, isn't it? And certainly with the ads, the kind of teaser videos they'd done, didn't have any cars in. They just had people prancing around in funny outfits. And it's funny because when I was changing car, whenever it was June time, and I looked at a Jaguar, and you said, well, you're not old enough to have a Jaguar. So that's the kind of conception people have, isn't it? That they're a car for older men who've kind of given up on life, I suspect. Yeah, it's interesting because your belief is is the whole go woke, go broke thing. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, it remains to be seen, doesn't it? I think we can only hypothesize for now. I just feel that, like, the market that in my head Jaguar was for, it will no longer be for at all. And so the market that they're trying to target with this new look and feel, can they even afford to buy these cars? Because they're not cheap, you know.
No, it's going to be over 100k for the new one, isn't it? I think it's yeah,
Like the Prestige, like Jaguar, it was it was not so much anymore, but the British, it was classic British Prestige. My granddad, who was, I always saw as, he was a successful businessman, like he had Jaguars as long as I could recognise what cars were, and it was like, that was like the pinnacle. That was the car, that sort of age, and you look at like E-type Jags and stuff like that are just amazing. And I know that things evolve over time and stuff like that, but for me, it's just like, let's just scrap that. Let's just forget all that and let's start afresh. And I think it makes me think of one of our clients, Tess Cope, actually, who's she's based, works with teams on culture and teams and helps huge companies, like multi-billion-dollar companies, go through transformations. And one of the things that I've learned in writing as Tess is that whenever you go into anything where there's going to be change, you have to shine a light on the things that have happened in the past, so that you don't just completely wipe the slate and forget about the things that have helped build a solid foundation in the first place. And for me, that's obviously relevant to when she's dealing with teams, but for me, it kind of feels like that. And obviously it's hard to know because we haven't been involved in the conversations, but just from a visual perspective and how it's come across, it feels like it's just gone, yeah, forget that. That's not important now. This is what we're doing now.
Yeah, it's interesting that you hadn't shared that with me before around Tess and her approach. I think that's talking internally, isn't it, for teams? And I wonder, that conversation might have happened internally. I do think it's a shame. I think it's almost like a bit of a rebirth in terms of they basically just killed off that brand and they've just kept the name and just relaunched it. And I think when you look at like Jaguars haven't been selling, the numbers have been down for years and are showing no signs of going in an upward direction. They've just been going down and down and down. And I suspect that they've kind of had this realization that the brand's going to die anyway. So we've got to do something dramatic or drastic. And they're targeting people even younger than me, people young enough to be your great grandchildren. And it remains to be seen whether they have got the money. But I think we talk about it with businesses where they're like, oh, I can't charge that. No one can pay that. And in actual fact, there are lots of people who can. And I think there's probably not millions of young people who can buy them because that's not what things look like economically, but there are plenty of people, young people, who could buy it and will buy it because it's exclusive. And I think they're talking about releasing like a very limited run of cars and trying to make it more of a limited edition type brand. I wouldn't be at all surprised if it does work. I think it is such a shame that they didn't decide to, I don't know, create a new brand instead of kind of decimating. It's like they've buried Jaguar and gone, that's dead now, and then they've dug it up and desecrated the body. That's what it seems like a little bit. I think it seems like it was their only choice in terms of the brand was dead anyway. And I think what was interesting is how many people were talking about it. That's probably the most Jaguars being talked about in
there is
decades.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, my prediction, what's your prediction? 2 years' time, where's Jaguar going to be? Do you think it's going to be flop or we need a little thing we can do each time? A flop or a hop? Maybe not hop.
A flop or a hop? I would like to think that it's not a flop. And look, these are, I don't know what size company Jaguar is from a revenue perspective, or Jaguar Land
It's owned
Rover.
by, I don't know, say it, Tata?
Oh, is it the Indian company?
I believe so, yeah.
So they're not short of cash. So you'd expect
Well, they own JLR, don't they?
Yeah. So you'd expect them to get the best minds possible in to resolve the situation if it goes a little bit tits up.
Yeah.
What was
We're
that
waiting
book
for we're waiting for a phone call. They've not reached out yet, but some of the best minds possible, not all of them. Interesting.
What would you have done with it if it gone right? This is like just declining.
I would have done something similar, but I would have tipped my hat. I would have kind of done it as a bit of a like burying Jaguar. I would have like videos of them burying, like lowering the coffin, and then I don't know. You might piss off the Christians if you had like something emerging from the coffin, like the second coming. But I probably would have gone down that, and I would have been more honest about, look, the brand's dead, and it's time for a change, and done something radically different with the new cars and stuff. But I would have like paid homage to all of the old cars and done some videos talking about, like, because there was no context or anything in those videos. They were just visual, wacky looking things, weren't they? I would have done some videos showing all the old Jaguars, talking about, like, I probably would have interviewed people found a bunch of people who'd owned Jags who were in their 80s, talking about how exciting they were, putting up videos in there and stuff like that, making it feel like, you know, when they've got like wartime, when they're interviewing people who are in the wars and they've got black and white footage from the trenches, like that kind of thing, and then position that against like the new Jaguar. And I would have not created the logo in Canva as well. Apart from that.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, and context is everything.
But maybe we're just old. Maybe young people, TikTok's rotted their brain and they don't.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, proof will be in the pudding, of course, and I think what you've just shared there around the context, I think that's a massive thing just generally in life, because whenever there's gaps in communication, people just come to their own conclusions, and seldom is it positive. And so if there is that gap from old Jaguar to this new shit-looking woke brand, and it's just, that's what it is now with no context. I think we as humans just fill in those gaps with, oh, it's this, oh, it's that, oh, it's the other. And it's like, just tell us, just share the journey. And that's a part of the marketing in itself.
100%.
Interesting.
I can't wait any longer. What's your top secret conversation?
Yeah, that's why I wanted to do that bit first, because this is highly relevant to that. So when you voice noted this morning, it was like, I'd forgotten about it as well, even though it was like, I was shocked, and you went, let's talk about Jag. I was like, yeah. And then I was like, shit, yeah. The conversation that I had on the way home yesterday with a friend of mine who, he helps fashion brands. He helps fashion brands grow through having better functioning e-commerce sites, and also the follow-up process, the emails and all that sort of stuff. So making sure that their after opt-in sales are increased and consistent. And he was telling me about a new client that he's working with, who we were talking a fair bit, and he was like, yeah, they've just invested quite heavily in brand. And he was like, I'm just absolutely lost for words. And basically it was the company, the mom is the owner of the company, but her son, I didn't get the age of the son, is like taking it over recently. And so he had hired someone to do a rebrand, and they'd basically hired a company just for a rebrand, and they'd sent through the rebrand document, which apparently, I'm waiting to see it, is apparently it's 2 pages of like stuff around your competition and all this sort of stuff, and then he goes, it's about 20 pages of clearly ChatGPT shit, basically. And he was like, and they got this, and the mom's kicking off. My mate who's talking to her about doing their emails and stuff is like going, oh, I can't believe we wasted all this money, blah, 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 blah. And he was like, cool, so just show me the documents, show me what the new brand looks like. And she was like, no, no, no. Like, all we've got for our money is this document, which is all written. We don't have anything visual. So we had to pay extra for them to do any design. So what we've paid for is just like a brand report. And this is where it gets ridiculous. For this brand report, how much do you think they paid for this brand report?
Well, I'm going to go high now because
Yeah.
it's like when someone asks you to guess their age, you guess lower than you think. Same thing, isn't it? Same concept. I reckon it's going to be in the thousands of pounds. I reckon I'm still going to be surprised, but I'm going to go probably where I would have gone 12 grand.
You're nearly halfway there.
25 grand.
£25,000 for
Jesus.
a brand and I'm going to see it. I've not seen it yet. And so 25 grand for the brand report. There's nothing visual. There's no concepts. There's no like nothing.
Is there like here's what you should be doing, or is it just here's what you're currently doing?
I haven't seen it yet. But he's absolutely staggered. And I was like, so what next? He goes, so then the lad and the mom is going absolutely wild. The lad's invested in getting them to do a logo. And I was like, and at this point I was like, so they haven't, at that point I didn't know that they didn't have a logo. I was like, what, have they not done the logo for the 25 grand? He's like, no. Like, that's extra. So they've designed a logo for him. They've sent the logo through. There's no concepts or anything like that. There's no here's my thinking. Here's why like a proper, when you get proper branding done, there's like a brand story and then all the concepts around it and then versions of it and different versions of it. It's just one version. Yeah, I've got it on my phone. I'm going to show you actually.
So has he's got the logo now?
Got the logo. I'm not going to show the camera because I want to keep it secret-ish. Where is it? So they've got the logo. How much? How much does it look like it's worth?
£8 on Fiverr.
14 grand.
Fuck, that's more. So just for context, it's literally 2 lines. It's 7 letters across 2 lines in just a font and then an italic font underneath with a line between them. It's not even like a nice font.
Like, you could.
Austin could have done that.
He could
on his iPad.
I'd be disappointed if he'd done it. I'd have said that's a shit job for a 7-year-old.
So this video really is for us to announce that we're becoming a branding agency.
And not only that, this bit will shock you as well. So, so they've paid 25 plus 14. Maths isn't my strong point. A lot of money.
39.
39 grand for a report, and then literally that's all they were sent. Literally that. So there's no primary, secondary, submark. There's none of that stuff.
How much did we pay for our logo?
Don't know, 200 quid.
And it's really good. We get lots of good, nice feedback on our logo. And there's different versions, and there's a brand palette and stuff with it. And
yeah, there's no brand guidelines for this. You know, it's crazy. And then the other thing is, like, working with this agency, and this agency, they're now doing an email service for them, which
the brand agency.
The brand agency, they basically got instructed to carry on working with them. I don't know how long this has been going on, and the mom's come in now and is like going, "What the fuck is going on?"
Sounds like money laundering, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's typical, like, young kid taking over the family business and going, I've got this, I know best, and just spunking money left, right and centre, signed up to their email service, which is basically 2 emails a month that they get written for them.
Mm-hmm.
How much?
I mean, based on what you shared so far, $2,000.
4.
Jesus Christ.
$2,000 an email. You're right.
Yeah, I'm lost for words. Do you know what would be really, really cool would be to get the person from the agency, Shyster's direct agency, get them on here and just kind of dig into it a little bit and just. But I'd love to hear their perspective, whether they believe they're providing loads of value, or.
Well, here's what's interesting. Because obviously I asked the question straight away. I was like, who is this agency? Like, they must be good at sales, if nothing else. And I've seen the website, and it looks great. Website's good, like edgy visuals, nice video. And then I don't know what they call them, whether they called them partners or something like that, are marquee brands. And then you go, now I see it. Now I see how someone could be
Seduced,
yeah, to pay that sort of money when you've got those sorts of brands on your site. Things like brands like Lacoste. I can't think of
French
any of them.
for the price. Not sure if you knew that.
Is it?
No.
I'm so gullible when you say things.
Yeah.
So there's like really high-end brands like Lacoste, Chanel, like things like that on there. And you look at that and go, well, if they're working with them, then they've got to be amazing.
I'd not heard that term before, marquee brands. From the context, I realised what it meant, but I'd not heard
You
that
think
term
about
before.
the marquee outside in the garden.
Like gazebo brands. What has that got to do with it? Yeah, that's... Oh. But then...
But what do you take from that? There's like... Forget they've probably not spent that money too wisely.
Mm-hmm.
Aside from that, what do you take from that whole thing?
It's a social proof thing. That's my biggest takeaway, is that just by seeing that these other brands have spent the money with them, then they've gone, it must be good. And clearly, I assume he was dropped on his head a few times as a child, this lad that spent that money. It just, I don't know, it makes me feel sick, really, the idea of, and I was obviously joking about us doing a branding agency. If someone turned around to me and said, hey, I've got this person that's going to pay you $39,000, all you've got to do is have a call with them, take the Zoom recording, chuck into ChatGPT, create the report, and then if you've got 5 minutes later, do the logo for $39,000. I don't think I would. Would you?
Well, if someone was offering to give me $39,000 to do it, I would take the $39,000 if they were just going, here you go, and then I would hire someone that I know is very good at that stuff.
Yeah, to do a proper job.
Mm-hmm. And, I know one particular person that's exceptional at this because he's shown me how he creates brands, and it is immense, the whole story and everything. Mm-hmm. And so I go, fine, if you want to give me $35,000 for it, cool, but I'm going to make sure they get a damn good job done for that, and I'll pay $20,000 to get a proper job done.
Insane.
Yeah. The other thing I think to take away from it is like a money mindset thing. It's like sometimes you're like going, oh, is that a bit too expensive for something? And then you hear that someone's charging $25,000 for a ChatGPT branding report and $14,000 for a logo done on Paint or PowerPoint or something. And it makes you realise that, sometimes you don't necessarily value what you do as much as you should.
Mm-hmm. Well, it leads neatly onto the conversations that were going on at Mastermind the other day. Mastermind group we were that we're at the meeting for, where someone had paid £5,000 to have their LinkedIn profile written, and someone else was worried about if they could charge $32,000, was it, for this whole brand thing that was the whole kind of what you're talking about, really, top to tail, brand redesign, brand refresh, new website, logos, brand documents, all that kind of stuff. And they were
Yeah, that included like websites and stuff.
Didn't feel comfortable charging 32 grand. It's interesting. And there was another conversation that I thought was interesting. I mean, it just highlights we're nowhere near 2 grand an email when we do emails. So look how cheap we are in comparison. Good value. No, it reminds me of a conversation that was happening on Wednesday at the Mastermind, which was the guy who was clearly quite smart, Matt, and came in and said, all right, well, here's my business. Like, he's kind of maxed out on one-to-one clients. What should he do to get to be able to launch a kind of a group program and get some more clients in? And he was kind of looking for, the solution he was looking for was like, what thing can he do online? What thing can he do externally that's going to generate this result? And when we dug into it a little bit with him, he's got a decent sized email list, which he hasn't. It's funny the way he positioned it. It was like, how often do you email? I think you asked the question. And he was like, yeah, so on average, and you could tell he was kind of totting the numbers in his head and going, carry the 3 on long division. Yeah, so I haven't emailed them for 6 months. It's like he's building up the courage to say it. And he had a decent following on Instagram and LinkedIn. He had this audience that he'd worked hard to create by doing webinars, by putting content out there, by adding value. And then in his head, the solution, and he probably would advise a business differently because he was a business coach himself, but his solution was like, there's something else out there that I've missed that I should be doing to generate these leads and lead flow and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it was like, how can I get cold people, new people in?
Yeah.
That was the thing, wasn't it? That was his school of thought.
And we hear that kind of thinking all the time, and rarely is that the solution. It's not to say like we're doing this stuff now, these videos and stuff, to build awareness, grow our audience, get in front of more people, but we're not expecting this to provide any returns for a long time. We're happy to invest a year or 2 years or 3 years and not get anything tangible from it. But while we're doing that, we've got an email list that we email twice a week, and we've got that audience that we look after and nurture. And we know that if we keep doing that, like we have people pop up out of the blue pretty regularly who we don't know exist or haven't spoken to for a while or have forgotten about, who go, oh, by the way, lads, I need your help with this thing. And that will continue to happen because of the stuff we're doing. And it just highlighted to me, there's probably lots of businesses who don't send emails, don't have built a list or an audience, and then, I don't know, it's like the cheating husband who's got a lovely wife at home, and they're like, right, where can I find love? And they're out chatting up their secretary. It's probably not the best analogy, but generally what they're looking for, they've got the audience. They just need to do something with it. They need to do some direct outreach. They can reach out. We haven't spoken about this before, but we worked with someone who wanted to fill a mastermind program and wanted us to create this funnel and do all this kind of stuff. And we just created a script for him to send individual WhatsApp messages and videos to people who he thought could be interested. And there was a lot of them that he was able to identify. And he filled that mastermind program, which was, I think, 20 grand a pop for the year. 15 or 20 grand, I can't remember.
Did about 75, 80 grand, didn't he?
Yeah, in a day.
Yeah. That's mad.
We oftentimes when people avoid doing that kind of stuff or just avoid emailing the list, it's because it's avoiding. It's like, oh, I don't really want to do that thing, so could I do something else instead? And it's a discipline thing, I think.
And it's on our wall there. If you avoid the rejection, you avoid the opportunity. And I think, having done this a little bit myself recently, because we're launching these 2 new offerings, and taking our own medicine, it's like I'm doing direct outreach to people, which for me, I'm not comfortable doing it. I don't go, oh yes, I've got to do these sales calls or however you frame them up. It's just because I haven't done it enough to be as comfortable with it as other things. Are they rolling now?
Yeah, they are rolling now. We don't know. I think the camera's cut off at some point, but we don't know when.
Perfect.
So we're still trying to work out this kind of setup. I don't think it'd be nice if we were looking at each other, because we're kind of either looking to the side and then not at the camera. I don't know how we do that.
Me neither.
Any feedback on the lighting, the setup, that kind of stuff as we work it out? We're pretty good with the talking head videos. We've got the backdrop, all that kind of stuff. But let's wrap it up there, because We might just have to append this to wherever the
You might not
videos.
even see this.
No, wherever the videos cut off. Well, wherever it cut off, we'll chop that and then whack this bit on the end.
Hopefully not missed out on the shock news that I shared with you.
No, I think we got that.
Because you won't be able to, you wouldn't be able to act as surprised hearing it when you already know.
I don't know, mate. I'm pretty good at acting surprised. Although when you were like, if you're like, guess how much? I'm going to guess the exact figure. £25,000 perchance. Thanks very much for watching. If you've watched, if you've made it this far, go outside, get some fresh air.
Cheers.